Hello everyone, this is Dan here, and well, I hinted to this in the last video I did, but here it is, the SU-122-44, the Tier 7 Premium Russian Tank Destroyer, and this is going to be my full-fledged review of this machine. So, first things first, it is a Tier 7 Tank Destroyer, Russian, and it is premium, so it'll fall next to the SU-152 and the SU-100M1. So, there is technically 4 premium Russian tank destroyers, 2 of which are no longer available. The Tier 3 one, which is the SU-76I, I want to get that thing to complete my collection. SU-85I, which they took down sometime in the past, I don't remember when, because it just randomly disappeared. SU-100Y, love this thing, still haven't done a review on it. And then the newcomer to my garage, the SU-122-44. So when you buy this thing, what do you get? Well, first off, as it is a premium vehicle, you do get the opportunity to take any of your Russian tank destroyer crews and just plop them down in here, and they can be trained and use their crew perks and whatnot without any kind of penalty. So, for instance, if I wanted to take my SU-100M1 crew member, I have no idea why he's there. If I wanted to take him and I wanted to train him up some more, I could put him in my SU-85I and then SU-100Y and then my SU-122-44, and he'll get the bonus experience for each battle for a victory, and he won't have any kind of penalties. So, right off the bat, benefits of having a premium vehicle. They're also usually cheaper to maintain, as in the ammunition is usually cheaper, and the repair costs are usually cheaper. I said in the previous video that the ammunition costs for this tank I thought were cheaper. Turns out I was wrong. It costs 1,000 credits per shot. So, and considering how fast this gun fires, which we'll get onto in a second, unless you're constantly hitting your target, you could run lower profits than you would anticipate in, for instance, let's say like the SU-100Y or the SU-85I. This thing does make credits, it's not as good as perhaps a Tier 8 counterpart. So if basically you would just want this to train your Russian tank destroyer crew, or just for fun, sort of like how I got it. So let's get to the basic raw stats. 840 hit points, that's about middle of the road for Tier 7 tank destroyers, British being the exception. They're always up there. I think they're about 1,000 at this point. It's reasonably light compared to other tank destroyers. It's actually more, it weighs, I believe, close to the same, weighs close to the same as the SU-100M1. It also gets a 500 horsepower engine, so the horsepower to ton ratio is very good, so this thing will accelerate extremely quickly, and at 47.5 kilometers an hour, it hits that reasonably fast. So this is very, very maneuverable, as I hinted to in the past. 42-degree traverse speed is insanely good. Previously, the best tank I had for traverse speed in my garage, 48 degrees on a Tier 5, very, very good. But on a Tier 7 with a big gun like this, very, very dangerous. 42 degrees traverse speed is, I believe, if I go and take a look, yep. Now, the reason why this is called the SU-122-44 is because it is based on the chassis of the T-44, hence the reason the 44, and the stock tracks on the T-44 have the same traverse speed as the ones on this tank. So, you're basically getting a medium tank with a mounted encasement and a forward-facing gun. Now, let's get on to the other stats of this tank that actually make it pretty good. 90 millimeters of frontal armor. That may not seem like a lot, but when you look at how well sloped it is, basically anything with less than 150 millimeters of penetration. So a lot of tier 6 and below tanks, they're going to have a difficult time getting through the front of this thing, especially if you angle it like that. I've had 200 plus millimeter guns bounce off of me, mostly because they hit me in the mantlet, which is very, very strong. Yeah, from the front, this thing, if you have a low enough penetrating gun, is dangerous. From the sides and the rear, it's a completely different story. It's basically garbage everywhere else. So, again, with the 42 degrees per second of traverse speed, it's going to be difficult for things to circle you, but don't rule it out. There are a few tanks that can and will do it. So, watch out for that. And now we get on to probably the best part of the tank, the gun. So, it's your standard Russian 122mm gun, horrible accuracy, horrible aim time, but there's something very special about this one. So I'm going to pull up the stats for it, and let's compare it to, I'm going to go to the tech tree, and let's go to KV3. And let's pull up this 122mm gun. So you guys can kind of see the comparison between the heavy tank version and the SU-122-44 version. So, both 122mm guns, fairly obvious. The KV3's gun has 4.88 rounds per minute. The SU-122-44 has 7.5. Same damage, same penetration. Actually, the penetration on the tank destroyer version of the gun for high explosive is 3mm better, but that's beside the point. Accuracy is better, aiming time is better, and the weight's the same. So, you're looking at this and you're like, okay, well that just looks like an average 122mm gun. But the rate of fire is almost double that of the KV3. This thing, the way I have it set up right now, without improved vents, just 100% crew and a gun rammer, pumps out shots every 6.9 seconds. This may not be as fast as the E25, but considering how much damage it does per shot, you can literally rip your enemies apart in just a few seconds. Tier 6 heavy tanks, they're gone in less than 20 seconds. Unless it's the TOG, then it takes a while. But this gun is absolutely devastating. The penetration, it can be worked with. If you've played, for instance, the SU-100M1, you can work with 175 millimeters of penetration. And although the accuracy isn't great, it's reasonable, especially if you've been working with Russian guns. You're used to really low accuracy. But then again, it's Russian. You just need to give your dissidents to Stalin, and he'll guide your shot right into enemy's commander hatch, and boom, they're dead. Ammo rack. 2.9 seconds aiming time. Again, it's not that good, but you can work with it, especially from someone who's driven the ISU-152 or the KV2. I can work with 2.9 seconds aiming time. Now, on to what I would fit on this tank itself, like the equipment. Gun rammer. Any tank that can mount it, you mount one. Doesn't matter what it is. If it can mount it, you use it. Because pumping out a few extra shots per minute definitely does help. The DPM on this thing is already insane. It's the highest DPM, I believe, out of all the Tier 7 tank destroyers. I'm not sure about the E25 because obviously I can't view it anymore. But 2,925 damage. The SU-100M1, 2,500. SU-152, 2,373. This one, the SU-122-44, is by far the highest DPM of the available Tier 7 tank destroyers. So this thing can pump out shots insanely fast. So if you can pump them out even more, go for it. Now, this thing is very, very stealthy, especially if you have camouflage on your crew. But I'll get back to this in a second. Binocular telescope. This thing is blind. Very, very blind. 330 meter view range is awful. This is worse than the SU-122, and I thought that was horrible. This is just beyond awful. So, being able to add an extra 25% to that doesn't make it great, but it makes it better. And considering this is a very stealthy tank destroyer, if you're going to be sitting around for 3 seconds to activate this thing, you might as well have a camouflage net to make yourself even more concealed, so you're less likely to get spotted in the first place. On to the ammo selection. Mostly, you're just going to want to load up a lot of AP. This thing does see tier 9, so it does not get preferential matchmaking, but if you have experience with 175 millimeters of penetration and, for the most part, are able to work with that, you don't need a lot of premium ammunition. I only carry 2 shots just in case I run into the odd KV-4 or something like that, or if I just really need it. If I can't do it with AP, then I'm not doing it right. And then high explosive, mostly for just lightly armored targets, stuff like that, nothing too major. Resetting the cap, trying to splash enemies, just basic stuff like that. And then my standard, just equipment fit for repair kits and first aid kit, just have those on hand. And then your third slot is optional. I guess a fire extinguisher would be useful. I haven't noticed very many fire problems in this thing, but then again, you know, it's better to have one and be safe than sorry. For crew, basically your standard tank destroyer stuff. I just have my SU-100 crew in here, my best tank destroyer crew. Definitely going to want 6th Sense on your commander, and then after that, basically just camouflage. If you can get camouflage on all of these guys, then you're good to go. I kind of went out of order and weird stuff like that, but 6th Sense and then camouflage, everything else. And then after that, you just go for whatever you want. This thing, I have noticed, has slight problems with the ammunition, like the ammo rack being damaged. I don't know if it's just my luck, but I believe the ammo rack is right in here, so if you do get penetrated in the side, or even through the front, it can occasionally knock out your ammo rack. So that's just what I've noticed. I really don't know if it's happens a lot, because I haven't been shot at a whole lot, but whenever it does seem to happen, it seems to be a little bit more frequent. So that is basically the garage review of the SU-122-44. I keep trying to SU-152. I keep trying to say that, and I don't understand why. So that is basically it. I'm going to load up the replay now, and I'll be back in a second. Oh, almost completely forgot. The cost. Of course, since this is a premium vehicle, it is going to cost you gold, and it will cost you 6,750 gold coins. In my opinion, it is worth it, but that's basically my playstyle. As you can see, I've played almost all of the Russian tank destroyers. So personally, it's my playstyle, and I would say it's worth it if you do enjoy sort of some of the, like the S100M1, if you really enjoy that, and perhaps the SU-100. If you really enjoy those tanks, this thing is basically like that, except it's got the 122mm gun and is pretty mobile. Okay, so 6,750 gold will set you back somewhere between 180 days of premium time and 30 days of premium time. So somewhere in there. Yep. No. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to get to the actual replay. Okay, I'll see you guys then. Alright, so here we are with the replay. So, Monastery, and I am top tier. I am one of 8 tier 7 tanks. Alright, so this is the first time I actually played this tank on this map, so I really didn't know what to do. I was half tempted to go down the side by the river, since that's where I usually go with my tank destroyers, but I decided since this thing plays a little bit more like a medium tank, why don't I give sort of this area a try? Of course, the majority of my team fails to approach this flank, and I am basically all by myself, except for a KV-1 who's going to drive up here as well. He did extremely well, actually, for being a Tier 5 and a Tier 7 game, so hats off to him. And as you can see, within the first minute of the game, I'm already up here, and I'm looking for a reasonably good position. Now, I'm going to play a little bit cautiously at the start of this game, mostly because no one else came over here, and a lot of my team is still sitting back in the base. And since I don't have support, I'd rather not get attacked by more than one tank. I can handle one, but the instant you start throwing 3 or 4 at me, there's a bit of a problem, because I only have one gun. And since I'm only getting support from a KV-1 who hasn't even pulled up here yet, I'd rather not be facing off more than one target. So I'm lying in wait, waiting for this KV-1 to pull up, so if there are any enemies, they'll either shoot at him, or he'll spot them. He does not spot anything, nor does he take damage, so I decide it's clear to move up, and I'm going to attempt to take the high road. He spots an SU-100. I figure he's probably got the better position, at least. So I'm going to try to see if I can flank around and do some damage to the SU-100. I spot Chaffee. I can't get a shot on him because he's behind cover. A Tiger and a Stug. Now, I completely forgot after this Tiger went off the radar that he was what appeared to have the stock turret. He could be completely stock, I have no idea. So I was sitting here trying to figure out whether he had the stock turret or not, because I forgot. We're down 4 tanks, and I'm being a little cautious here, because if he has the stock turret, he's likely to have one of the really, really awful guns that the Tiger gets whenever it's stock, thus making it easier to bounce his shots. And as you can see, he did damage my gun, but as long as I'm this close, it really doesn't matter. Some really nice high damage rolls, and as you can see, his shots are just bouncing, for the most part, cleanly off of my armor. Pull up, take another shot, angle back, bounce another shot, and this Tiger, who was once on full health, is now completely dead, while he only scored 1 penetrating hit on me. I put my gun back into action because Russian guns are already inaccurate enough. I decided to basically try to risk that shot to see if I could take out the Chaffee, and I can't. KV-1, I'm really not worried about this guy's gun unless he starts trying to fire high explosive. And as you can see, he really can't do a whole lot to me. So when you're coming up against tanks that have below 150 millimeters of penetration, or maybe even a little bit more, I really don't know. It's around there. They really can't do anything about the front of your tank. So I'm trying to go around and help take down that SU-100, but our KV-1, as I said, he's got it. He's already secured 2 kills, so good job for him. Problem is that we're still down by 1 tank. Scores aren't really looking too good. Okay, now we're down by 2, and their team is basically pushed right up into our base. So our KV-1 and I, we're going to be pulling back and hopefully taking up a defensive position that we can use to effectively put shots into the assaulting enemy team. I can't get any shots from this position, which is a little upsetting, but really isn't anything I can do about it. So instead, I'm going to take the long way back around and go to where I was basically 4 minutes ago. So the only thing really stopping him at this point is our ELC sitting in our base, holding them back. We're outnumbered 2-1 right now. I load up high explosive because I'd rather just derp the AT-15A. I think that's what it is. Yep. And odds are it'll probably kill him. If not, a second shot should do the job. Sadly, he was behind cover, and I found that the T-34 was a more immediate threat because he was threatening our only eyes down there.
Target acquired.
So I unload a nice shot right into the front of him, and while he's retreating, I unload a second one, and as you can see, the superior DPM, in fact, is actually comparable to that of, I believe, the STB-1, the Tier 10 Japanese medium tank. The only difference, this is a little bit more inaccurate and has less penetration. KV-1 finishes off AT-15A. Between the 3 of the remaining players on the team, including me, we have 7 kills. The problem is, though, well, we have 2 Tier 5s. They have a Tier 5, Tier 6, Tier 7. And the remaining tanks are, at least the SU-100Y is pretty dangerous. That is, if he actually hits anything. KV-1 takes a shot, misses. I think he's using the howitzer. That'd be my guess. I finish off the SU-100Y. M12 takes a shot at our KV-1 and misses. I'm on 4 kills right now. And now I'm going to go hunting for that Chafu. Sure enough, he comes flying around just in time for me to plant a nice 122mm shell into his flank, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to ram him, and I'd rather not take the chance, so instead I was just going to shoot him. Kill's a kill. Might as well have done it. KV compliments me on my shot. I just say affirmative because I'd rather not say anything, except I said Top Gun with the same stupid W that I did with the last video I showcased. Unlike that team I had, it appears the ELC isn't as lack the word to describe it, but he went for the kill instead of giving me the Top Gun, but he ends up dying anyway. So I'm going to get to the M12 long before the KV-1, so I can take my time at this point. Odds are the M12 is not going to be able to get very far. And I have an AP shell loaded up because I don't know whether or not the ELC did damage to the M12. And I'd rather not risk a non-penetrating shot with the HE because I'm not usually familiar with artillery armor. Of course, the shot I do take is a critical, and I'm spotted. Artillery fires, hits me, but it doesn't kill me. It just takes off my track and about 500 points of my health. And I secure the kill for my Top Gun. That game, I got a total of, I believe, 3,200 something damage. I don't know the exact figures. I'll pull them up after this. But unsurprisingly, high caliber Top Gun, stuff like that. And that was an effective carry in the SU-122-44 Tier 7 Russian premium tank destroyer. Would I say this thing's worth it? Definitely. If you enjoy the more maneuverable Russian tank destroyers with the big 122mm guns, this is definitely the tank for you. I'll pull up the results for that game, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so here we are. That was a 60,000 credit game with the 2,562 experience. First one of the day. Again, if I was driving with a premium account, I would have made quite a bit. Unsurprisingly, with my luck, first class mastery badge, all these lesser medals, surprisingly shell-proof. High caliber Top Gun. Did damage to quite a few vehicles. I single-handedly took down the enemy team's Tiger. Top on both teams for damage done, obviously, because I have high caliber. Top on experience, top on kills. 16 shots fired, so as you can see, in just that short period of time, almost 9 minutes, I fired 16 shots, and that was not including all the time that I was moving around as well. 14 were direct hits and 12 were penetrations. Damage, as I said, was 3,234. Damage from over 300 meters was 45. I don't remember where that was from. I received 10 hits, 2 were penetrations, 8 were non-penetrations. I blocked almost 1,100 damage. I spotted 3 enemy vehicles. I damaged 6 enemy vehicles, destroyed all 6 that I damaged. Base capture points I reduced by 29, and I traveled 3 kilometers. In that game, I made 60,000 credits after all of the deductions from ammunition and repairs. I made a clean profit of almost 40,000 credits. Again, with it being a premium vehicle, I receive a bonus experience count thing. Yeah, I really don't know what to call it. This was a game shortly after the one that I showcased in my previous video, and this was the new top experience. Again, still, I didn't get Mastery Badge. That's just a little upsetting, but I'm working on it for a total of 2,818 experience with an extra 128 free experience. So that is my review of the SU-122-44. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and if you have any premium vehicles you might want to suggest me driving based upon my playstyle, if you have any tanks you want me to review, or if you have replays you want to send in and have me ramble on for 15 or so minutes talking about what you're doing in my very, very monotone voice, send it to me. I'd be more than willing to do it. Well, that's about it. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.